I was deeply disappointed that in 2020, that kind of approach would be given any legitimacy. Because let's be clear about it. She worked hard. She raised her kids. She went to school. She went to night school. She got degrees. She earned everything she has. That's the American way. That's the American spirit. So when there's anyone who tries to diminish the significance of people who work hard, I think it's just not the American way, frankly.
That was Vice President-elect Kamala Harris's reaction to the Wall Street Journal op-ed on Dr. Jill Biden that has spurred immense backlash. Joining us now, author Lauren Leader. She is the co-founder and CEO of All In Together, a nonpartisan women's civic and political organization. Her latest piece for Know Your Value is entitled Sexist. Wall Street Journal op-ed about Jill Biden proves we need more diverse voices in our op-ed pages. You know, Lauren, when I read it, I had to read it a few times because I'm like, where's the punch? This is like a joke, right? I mean, it was so bad on so many levels. I could not believe it made it into the Wall Street Journal. So what are your thoughts moving forward in dealing with editorial choices like this?
Right. Well, horrendous editorial choices. And in some ways, I'm loath to even dignify this piece with any more discussion because, as you rightly said all week long, it was appalling. And there are thousands of women who agree with you. The worst part is then that the editor-in-chief of the Wall Street Journal continued to defend it and claim that the controversy over the op-ed was just a left-wing Democratic ploy, which is ridiculous because there were thousands of women PhDs across America who were deeply offended. But I wanted to make a bigger point, which is the progress that we still need to make in terms of diversity in major media. And we have a historic group of women who will now be leading the White House press operation, women and women of color. We have a woman entering the vice presidency for the first time in history. And I believe it's critical that the op-ed pages of major papers, just as the major television media outlets have worked very hard to improve and increase diversity, need to do the same thing. The op-ed pages of major papers are notoriously opaque in terms of what they select and who they select. You have to ask the question, how many women and people of color submitted work that was disregarded by the Wall Street Journal in order to make space for this horrendous hit job? And I think it's time that the major papers begin to publish the number of submissions that they get and the diversity of those submissions, and then the data on how many women and people of color have their op-eds published. It's hugely important in terms of the shaping of the American narrative. And it's high time that we have greater transparency and accountability for diversity in op-eds.
And we're certainly able to do it with the technology we have at hand. Erin Haynes, your thoughts?
Well, Mika, I have to say this is yet another reason why a newsroom like ours, the 19th, exists, because we know that these types of narratives, unfortunately, are still all too common because of who the gatekeepers are in our industry, despite the fact that women are the majority of the population, women are the majority of the electorate, and women continue to, dismiss the myth of electability and dispel that myth. But I think exactly to Lauren's point, it's not as if these ideas, it's not as if this very antiquated and outdated mentality doesn't exist. But the real question is, how are those ideas able to make it onto the pages of an esteemed institution like the Wall Street Journal? You have to wonder, how many women were involved in hitting the button on that editorial. And so it does speak to, a larger question of representation, especially in our industry. And, I think that while we continue to see pushback from the outside, I think that there has to be a reckoning, internally in newsrooms to assess how to prevent these types of gendered and misogynist tropes from going forward.
Absolutely. All right, and our thanks to Lauren Leader. Thank you so much. You can read Lauren's piece at knowyourvalue.com.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.